Good morning. My name is Alexander Peine. I'm from the University of Utrecht, and actually I'm running this whole roadshow endeavor together with Ian, which we indeed will have our very first roadshow event here today. And instead of saying more about myself right away, I thought it would be good if I give, by way of an introduction today, I'll start off with my own story, my own journey into this endeavor, my background, the things I've done before, which led to this roadshow. So basically my own story about why I believe that today is the right time and London here today is the right place for this very meeting of minds. And as we go along, it becomes clear of how I look at this whole issue of age-friendly housing and the European reference framework around that. So the primary reason I am here is because I lead authored a European white paper on what we called at the time smarter age-friendly housing last year together with colleagues from the European Construction Technology Platform. In this white paper, we explored digitally enriched homes and neighborhoods as innovation hubs in the European silver economy. So most, if not all, of the digital technologies we discuss in the context of active and healthy aging, they will meet their users at home and in the community. But at the same time, homes and communities, of course, continue to be emotional, creative, and social spaces. So from my perspective, I believe coming to grips with this tension between digital innovation and homes and communities as everyday spaces is a key for creating consumer-facing markets, for leveraging the needed investments, and ultimately to create innovation and scale. But I also believe it's worthwhile to elaborate upon my own story in this regard a bit more, because I embarked on this white paper from my position as a leading GERON technologist. So what is GERON technology? So we are talking here about a field of scientific inquiry founded already in the early 1990s. So my background is in academic research, so to say. But a field of inquiry that explores issues at the intersection of technological innovations, silver market, and the changing patterns and practices of later life. And as the social scientist that I am primarily, I have a quite distinctive perspective on this whole field of GERON technology. Because for me, it's not the technology that drives change per se, but it's always the people. It's us that drives change. So such a human perspective on GERON technology or on digital innovation that zooms in on digital innovation as an enabler of healthy lifestyles and meaningful social engagement in later life is key. And at a time where we have so many new and exciting digital innovations, indeed, but where we have so many exciting digital technologies indeed, but lack innovation and scale, I believe that such a human perspective is invaluable to create societal and economic impact. And this was exactly my starting point to begin discussions within the ECTP, the European Construction Technology Platform, but also with the European Commission to address what we called at the time a demand-led vision for digitally enriched built environments, the homes and communities of the future to support active and healthy aging. And our white paper subsequently called for a new understanding of older people as co-creators of their changing and evolving digital environments, but also stressed the need to forge innovative and new types of cross-sectoral partnerships and new types of collaboration. As so often, good things lead to more good things. So Peter Windlaf introduced me during last year's Innovation Summit in March in Brussels to Ian Spiro, the founder of Creative Skills for Life. And on a personal level, we very quickly recognized that we share a strong passion for understanding later life as an opportunity. I'm not talking about elderly people, but about our own older selves and how digital innovation can enrich our journey into later life. At the time, Ian was involved with Innovate UK's long-term care revolution, a process that had already started to explore and put to life innovative collaborations around revolutionizing the provision of care. And actually, Jackie Marshall-Cyrus is here with us today, and she's one of the drivers behind the long-term care revolution, and she will tell us more about her take on collaboration, innovation, and leadership in a few minutes. So when Ian and I looked at our respective activities, the human perspective on Giro technology in our ECTP white paper, in my case, and the focus on entrepreneurship and the long-term care revolution in Ian's, we began to imagine a fresh perspective on what Ian calls agile aging. And encouraged by our friends at DG Connect and DG Grow at the European Commission, we started thinking at the time about a broad consultation process across the Union, seeking collaboration with other like-minded private, public, and third-party parties in Europe, other ongoing activities like-minded stakeholders like all of you in this room today, with the view on defining this European reference framework for age-friendly housing. A reference framework that is meaningful to and builds on the input of all relevant stakeholders in a European perspective. So here we are today on an exciting journey indeed, a pan-European social movement and knowledge-building process that began, a roadshow that began roughly a month ago in Brussels, and that will continue with us through a series of 10 innovation workshops in the upcoming couple of months. And I put some of these workshops on the slides just to indicate how many enthusiastic reactions we already received from different partners across the European Union. So we're having indeed 10 of these workshops. Some of them are smaller ones, satellite workshops you could say, and others are the bigger ones completely dedicated to elaborating this European reference framework. The important thing is that we are talking about open innovation workshops that are interconnected by an emerging alliance of like-minded stakeholders and an emerging agenda, this European reference framework, fed by all of us to boost knowledge, collaboration, and investment. And the key question to me, which we have to address along various dimensions, I believe, is, will we be able to turn homes and communities and neighborhoods of the future into creative spaces for the European silver economy? Creative spaces to allow our older selves to become co-creators of our evolving, configurable, personalized digital environments, but also creative spaces in which companies, entrepreneurs, and other stakeholders can collaborate to build viable markets and cross-sectoral innovation ecosystem. And this is exactly what we call a formula for agile aging. So today we are indeed part of something bigger, and we want all of you to contribute to this ongoing momentum behind the agile aging movement. So what we will do and discuss today will inform our collective thinking about the reference framework, its building block and dimensions, but it will also feed into the social movement around this very theme. So for us, and this is very much in line with what Peter also said, is there are three pertinent challenges we'd like to address in this reference framework. And one, of course, is about knowledge exchange. Indeed, the reference framework is about knowledge exchange and defining a new narrative of agile aging that highlights active participation, inclusiveness, and domesticability as a catalyst for innovation and scale. This was one of the key results at the launch event in Brussels. In the light of changing practices of aging, what are the current and future needs of smarter age-friendly homes and neighborhoods? What characterizes an age-friendly or age-inclusive home? How can we accommodate for changing needs, both across the life course, but also across different cohorts, with flexible and configurable solutions, services, standards, these kinds of questions? And what kind of types of collaborations and ecosystems can help create such flexible, successful solutions? And what are the best practices we already have in various European contexts in that regard? And finally, of course, the question of what can we learn from each other in this regard? A second important aspect, of course, is the financing and investment issues. How can we support entrepreneurs by boosting investments? How can we leverage private spendings in age-friendly home updates? But also how can we look at public and social investment, and how can we capture and compile the evidence base we already have for the return on investment in macroeconomic terms for these kinds of initiatives? And finally, a more longer term objective, or an objective on the longer term horizon, is the question of will we be able to establish test beds across the Union which will allow us real-life experimentation and validation of innovative products and services enabled by existing standards and infrastructures to expand the evidence we already have, and that will define agile aging in age-friendly homes or age-inclusive homes in more measurable terms from a holistic perspective indeed. So all this is of course not happening overnight, but we already have made important steps with the launching of this roadshow in Brussels and with the event today. And today our journey towards an Agile Aging Alliance continues. So let's take Iris here as an inspiration, a 94-year-old lady that designs her own line of wearable devices for a new narrative, and start this exciting journey together to make all we do bigger than the sum of its parts. So I wish us all a very exciting and inspirational 2 days here in London. Thank you.